Welcome to the Workforce Wire podcast, brought to you by Employ Prince George's, bridging the gap between job seekers and businesses. And now, here's your host, Walter Simmons.
Welcome to the Workforce Wire. This is your host, Walter Simmons. This is brought to you by Employ Prince George's, the bridge between job seekers and businesses. Today on our podcast, we have a great guest. I'm very excited. We have Ms. Wendy Wolff, the Director of Strategic Engagement for Maryland Nonprofits. Welcome to the show, Wendy.
Hello, Walter. Thank you for having me.
Great. So what is Maryland Nonprofits, Wendy?
Well, Walter, we are a statewide membership capacity building organization, and we provide all kinds of services, best practice services for nonprofits related to management and related to governance. And our mission, Maryland Nonprofits' mission, is to strengthen organizations and networks for greater quality of life and equity. So our vision, just to tell you, we envision that we can help organizations be greater agents of change for equity, better quality of life, for creativity, sustainability, and overall community well-being.
Wow. So what is your role as a director of strategic engagement and helping to build these nonprofits?
I have such a nice role. I'm chief relationship builder. That's not really my title, but I build relationships with nonprofits to help them figure out how can they get to the next level? What is it exactly that they need? And how can we be of service? Because we are a membership organization, so we provide hefty discounts and free services and all kinds of great things, which I'll share in a minute, for our members so that they can provide quality best practice services for their communities that they serve.
And so for our listeners, where can they get more information?
You can get information at www.marylandnonprofits.org.
www.marylandnonprofits.org.
Yes.
So, Wendy, the Workforce Wire is a show for job seekers, businesses, and workforce professionals across the country. So the very first question we always ask our guest, what was your career pathway and how did that lead you to becoming the chief engagement officer? Chief relationship officer and really director of strategic engagement at Maryland Nonprofits.
So I've had a really incredible career. I actually started my life in the HIV community working at a health department. And long story short, the more I sort of got involved in work, I realized that my skills were helping to raise others up. That I'm a dot connector, I like to bring people together, and I like to I feel like I always introduce myself as a resource. It's going to sound silly, but I'm a tool, right? I'm a super active listener. I have a lot of access to resources, and I like to activate them for lots of people. So really, I was working with injection drug users on the streets in Denver with kids who were homeless. And long story short, one thing led to another. And as I kept moving forward, I realized that what I do is helpful to all nonprofits, regardless of what discipline they do. So whether they serve the homeless population or veterans or young children or elderly or provide health or human services, whatever it is, the products that we provide and the services that I offer are the same. They just get tweaked for the content, right, for the delivery.
So it sounds like you found your internal purpose while working in an occupation at a job, and then you translated that into a career.
I did do that, exactly that.
So that's something to our workforce professionals that are listening. When we're doing career readiness workshops and career exploration in your American Job Centers, a lot of times we focus on interviews, we focus on resumes, but a lot of times we don't really focus on some of the more qualitative aspects of job search, which is what do you enjoy? What do you feel is your purpose? Why are you walking on this earth? And I tell people all the time, because they say, Walter, you work a lot. I said, I never worked a day in my life. And that's because in my career, I've been working in workforce development from day one, and I've enjoyed it from day one. It's my purpose. And American Job Centers, I'd really encourage you to help people identify their purpose, help people identify what they enjoy in life, and then help them translate that into their job search. So purpose. if there's one thing you take away from this episode is helping job seekers find your purpose. And for all my job seekers, really make sure if you're in a dead-end job in life, not in dead-end, you might be able to making great money, you have a successful career, but if you leave every day and you're not joyful, maybe you need to look at identifying your purpose so you can move forward.
And can I add on to that? Because I didn't realize we were going to take this route, and I'm just so happy to hear that, because the truth is we all have gifts. And the key word was joy. You keep walking towards the joy and let things unfold and keep being active, and that's where more lessons and more things come to you. So that was a really beautiful thing that you said. I appreciate
Wendy,
it.
I appreciate you.
Walter.
See, I invite people on this show that I like. No, I'm just kidding. Wendy's really great. She does a lot of great in the county. And speaking of that, Prince George's County, Maryland is home to the largest concentration of small nonprofits, annual operation budgets of less than $25,000 per year. Many of these are operating out of their homes, but a very large population of small nonprofits. What resources are available to help these nonprofits grow and increase in size?
Well, the first thing that is probably the most important is that the Department of Commerce funded Maryland nonprofits to provide, we call it the Nonprofit Development Center. And you can find that on our website. If you go to marylandnonprofits.org and you go to the Nonprofit Development Center, you will find a free resource. You have to apply, and it's a very brief application, but that means that we just really need to make sure that everybody is an active 501c3. And once you do that, you get access to everything that we have, every best practice, every standard, every resource to help your nonprofit. So immediately, every nonprofit that's less than 10 years old and less than $750,000 in revenue should apply.
And so that is the Nonprofit Development Center.
Yes.
And they can find that at www.marylandnonprofits.org.
Correct. And the things we provide are free workshops, we provide free consulting services, we help people figure out how to get to the next level. We do a lot. And the Department of Commerce has been very, very generous in offering this to nonprofits throughout the state.
So all of our nonprofits out there, make sure you're engaging with Maryland nonprofits, you're going to their website, and you take advantage of this free resource of the Nonprofit Development Center. And thank you to our state agency, the Maryland Chamber of Commerce. That's a great asset because when we talk about the economy and business, nonprofits are a business. They're the multi-billion-dollar industry, and a lot of people need to really understand that the nonprofit industry is a growing business and industry, but also from a workforce development perspective, there's degrees in nonprofits, there's nonprofit management, there's financial management in nonprofits. So again, I relate it back to our American Job Centers when we're providing career exploration and career assessment, and even into our high schools and our colleges, make sure that we're engaging with our students and job seekers about all of the variable industries and the difference between private sector, public sector, but also nonprofits. You know, that was something that when I was in college about a junior year, I made a decision that they said, what do you want to do? And I told people eventually, I said, I want to get paid to help people.
Yes.
And so I've been working with United Way, Goodwills, and now Employ Prince George's. So I think that was a pathway that I saw as an opportunity for a career. So I would encourage all of our workforce professionals to encourage people to look at the nonprofit industry as a career opportunity when people are looking for employment.
And in the state of Maryland, we make up 10% of the workforce.
Wow.
The nonprofit sector makes up 10% of the workforce. That's a big number. And if people are really looking for having a joyous career, there are 30,000 nonprofits roughly in the state of Maryland.
30,000.
Right? So you can find jobs in many places, many places, and be part of that 10% of the workforce.
Wow. So really check it out again. Great opportunity, great rewarding career working for a nonprofit organization. One of the key things that is a hot topic regarding nonprofits, especially in Maryland, is something called the Standards of Excellence Accreditation. Can you really explain to our listeners what is the Standards of Excellence accreditation, and what is the benefit for our nonprofit leaders that are listening?
Yes, I can. So Maryland nonprofits about 20 years ago started this process called the Standards for Excellence. And it is in short, it's a best practice program. But the long term is it's an ethics and accountability framework for nonprofits. So basically, we have developed a path to excellence, and there are 3 tiers for organizations where there's a basics tier, a basics plus, or we call it basics enhanced, and then a program where people can get a seal of excellence. The reason why organizations might want to become certified by the standards is because we did an independent study. So we did this independent study. We found out that organizations that had the standards as compared to those that didn't had higher increases in revenue within a certain time frame, higher increases in public support, those that had the standards versus those that didn't.
So the Standards of Excellence can possibly increase your revenue. And I think as a funder and being a workforce board director, to all of my nonprofits that are listening, funders want to know that you are going to manage their money appropriately.
That's right.
That you're going to be accountable and that you can track how their money is being allocated and spent and the efficiency that is spent. So ethics and accountability of Standards of Excellence from a funder basically shows me that you have the core infrastructure to allocate and manage and spend the money that I give you efficiently.
That's right. And we provide, the standards actually provides, it's a comprehensive set of best practices and a roadmap to how to implement them. So we help you raise more money, become sustainable, earn public trust, improve board performance, increase equity and inclusion, and identify growth and minimize risk. So all of that has been well thought out by very, very brilliant people across the country. When you participate in the Standards for Excellence, you become part of a national cadre of people because we have 12 replication partners across the United States who are licensed to offer this in their own states.
So the Standards of Excellence accreditation is recognized across the country.
Yes, in 12 different locations.
In 12 different locations. Great. So that's something that when you're talking with funders, national funders, a nonprofit could actually include this in their grant application, even if they're applying for a funder in another state, to say that, hey, we actually are a Standards of Excellence accredited organization. Employ Prince George's, we're actually going through the standards process. So you practice what you preach. So to all my listeners, we'll be able to give you some feedback as we go through this process. And hopefully by the end of the fiscal year, sometime in the next 6 or 7 months, we'll be able to receive our Standards of Excellence accreditation. But, you know, as a new nonprofit, I realized, and being the president here, there's a whole lot of hurdles.
Yes.
And so we actually engaged Wendy to help guide us in Maryland nonprofits. But that leads me to my next question. What is the most common mistake nonprofits make when incorporating?
That's such a great question. So I get a lot of calls from people who have big hearts and lots of passion say, I've got the greatest idea. And their idea is phenomenal, right? Nobody else is doing it. It's fantastic. And I say, fantastic. How much money do you need to do that? Well, I'm not exactly sure. Mistake number 1, not having a clear budget, not knowing.
Clear budget.
Clear budget. What do you need? And this is thinking about all the aspects because people need to have salaries, because you need
benefits,
100%. You need supplies. So you really need to think that through. It's not just, I need a van, right? And then everything else will fall into place. So clear budget. But the other one is, then I ask this question, well, how are you going to get those dollars? And if the answer is grants, that's a worry to me because grants are, it's a very competitive market. And that's not to say that you won't get a grant, but grant makers want to see established results. So you may get grants, but it won't be immediate. It might be in 2
and it won't be
years.
enough to manage an entire operation.
Right, and oftentimes grants are not unrestricted, right? So they only pay for program supplies, not for administrative costs.
So you'd say budget and fundraising.
That's right.
Wow. So nonprofits, if you're listening, if you're at home now, and I just talked about purpose, and you're thinking about your purpose as a nonprofit, you have an idea. 2 things you need to start out and look at is what is your budget? What are the real costs and complete costs? And 2, how are you going to raise money to fund that budget? What is your revenue goals? What are your revenue sources? If you're a Prince George's County-based nonprofit or an individual at home that wants to increase services, workforce development services to help job seekers improve their educational outcomes, gain employment, and increase their wages, you need to be a part of the Prince George's County American Job Center Community Network. This is our network. This is our public workforce system of different entities from across the county that are geared towards increasing the financial wellness and sustainability of each resident and focusing on and one person at a time, helping them get a job and be successful. It's the Prince George's County American Job Center Community Network. If you want more information, find us at www.pgcajc.com. Again, that's www.pgcajc.com, and look for how to join the Prince George's County American Job Center Community Network, or give us a call at 301-618-8400. We have a great team. We're working on about 75 different members, Wendy, and our goal by 2022 is to have 250 members and 75 different access points, because we have over 100,000 people in our county that need services. And we think that way we can partner with our nonprofit community, our faith-based, our community organizations, our government, our educational institutions to create a comprehensive system. And basically, we want to be the net of all of the people that have fell through and are looking for employment, need money, they're homeless, they can't find their way. And we feel like with 250 members, there'll be somebody that can help somebody move forward. And that's the Prince George's County American Job Center Community Network. And really, that's what we're helping to build. And part of that network is what we're going to try to help these nonprofits get connected to Wendy, get connected to Maryland Association of Nonprofits, the Prince George's County nonprofits with Miss Hillary Lindeman, and really helping people grow. And now we have this great tool of the Nonprofit Development Center. So we're definitely going to be sending people your way.
I hope you do. Is it okay to clap for all the good things you just said?
We can give it. Yay! We can do it. Yay!
That was amazing.
We have a great team
that's wonderful.
That's really getting us out of here. So really, really looking forward to growing that. But you mentioned something about the Maryland Nonprofit Development Center. You said you have a couple of questions because you want to make sure they're a 501c3. What is a 501c3, and what is actually the legal process for someone that you said is sitting at home that says they want to start a nonprofit?
So that's a great question, and I know we don't have a tremendous amount of time, but a 501c3 is a federally recognized tax-exempt organization, and there's three different kinds. There's a C3, a C4, and a C6.
C3, C4, C6.
Most health, human services, most of our folks who are out there providing services in the community are going to be 501c3s. To get your 501c3 status, there's a couple steps that you have to go through. The IRS requires you to do certain things, and we can do those things at Maryland Nonprofits. We have a flat fee program where we charge $1,200, and I know that sounds like a lot, but it's actually not, because some lawyers charge thousands and thousands of dollars, and then they don't do it properly. So we do it every day for hundreds of organizations.
Including Employ Prince George's.
Our general counsel, Ms. Patty Morton, will do it for you. But you have to fill out your 1023 application. And so it's a little bit complicated. And one of the things we feel like is that if it's not possible to raise $1,200 to fill out your application, that's worrisome, because how are you going to get the money you need, the tens of thousands of dollars you need to run your organization? So you need to fundraise. It's a great fundraising tool, because truthfully, $1,200 is not a lot of money to get. You could ask 120 friends for a little bit of money each. I mean, there's a lot of creative ways to raise money.
And then, that's really the biggest piece is 501c3, and then there's a C4.
So C4 is a little bit different. They're social welfare organizations and associations that are C4s. Mm-hmm. So that's like the firefighters or homeowners associations. Okay. They're all C4s. Most of our, associations of nonprofits are C3s. And then C6 is the Chamber of Commerce, a real estate board, not a junior league, but a business league or a professional football team. They might be a C6. Actually, I think the NFL is a C6 now.
So understand, you have to, the goal of a nonprofit is your tax exempt status.
That's right.
Which is the completion of a federal 1023 form. To receive that exemption means you don't pay taxes. And then you really have to look at what type of nonprofit, 501c3, the most common nonprofit, a C4 or a C6. And so when you're developing your nonprofit or you're growing, these are the things you have to take into account. Wendy already listed. You have to look at what is your complete budget. How do you raise money to develop that budget? And then how do you identify your organization and register it with the federal government to receive your process?
That's right.
Now, one thing I heard is that once you submit the 1023, you can actually operate as a nonprofit until you actually receive, because it could take like 6 months to a year to receive that.
I think that is true. And, I'm not a startup expert, so I do more of established organizations, but you can call our general counsel for all of those details because rules sometimes change.
Yeah.
I would look at our website at marylandnonprofits.org. We have a whole piece on how to start up. We've got some video and we've got great up-to-date data. But I will tell you that organizations, yes, the federal government could take, it was at one point 3 years' time.
It took us about 8 months. And
it's a long time.
And so one thing I want to highlight, what we did at Employ Prince George is we took everything off the Maryland Nonprofits website, free opportunities. Right. They gave you all the steps you needed to take into account to develop a nonprofit. We inputted those into a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet, and then we broke them out into phases over a period of time. And that's how we check the boxes to start Employ Prince George. So I really believe in Maryland nonprofits, and coming from the president of Employ Prince George's, and I and a group of our team members helped found this organization. We literally did everything Wendy's talking about, and we've had a great, successful year. We're actually moving close. We celebrated this past July. We celebrated our 1 year anniversary, and so in a couple of months, in January, we'll actually be going towards a year and a half. So please, nonprofits in Prince George's County and Maryland, please take advantage of this. www.marylandnonprofits.org.
Yes, because we can help you.
All right,
we don't want you to struggle.
Great. What do you think are the 3 most important elements to building a strong nonprofit? Now, I think, did you list, is budget and revenue in that 3 already?
So I'm going to call 1, having a sound financial plan. I think that's critical.
All right. Financial plan.
Your board. You must have unrelated board members. So there's a lot of...
You mean like I can't have my cousin as my chair?
That's right.
Okay.
Because best practices are that your board of directors, it's a checks and balances, right? So your board of directors needs to be that unbiased group of ambassadors who make sure that the organization gets the resources and has the strategic direction that they want to accomplish the mission. So when you have family members on there, it's difficult.
They can't guide you.
Well,
because the board kind of governs it a little bit too. They
absolutely govern. And if you and I are husband and wife and we're on a board, or maybe I'm the executive director and you're on the board and we disagree, or other people disagree with us, it's very complicated. We got to go home at night.
Yep.
Are we talking around the kitchen table about business? And the truth is, you want the board to be an independent group of unrelated people that can really provide that sound judgment and that great feedback so that the organization, it takes, 10 years, 5 years, 20 years to build a reputation? And in this day and age, less than 5 seconds to ruin it, right?
Social media. So conflict of interest, make sure that you remove possible, apparent, plausible conflicts of interest. I'm channeling our general counsel.
If it strikes you that you could be a headline, eliminate it.
So sound financial plan.
Yeah,
and
strong
board.
And a great strategy. Nobody would ever take a vacation, use their hard-earned dollars, have one trip in their lifetime without a destiny, knowing where you're going. You wouldn't do it.
I mean, you have a strategy for everything you do.
You have a strategy.
If you're going to a doctor's office, you GPS, you put in your phone.
You put your seatbelt on.
Yeah,
that's exactly.
And so that's the same thing. Why don't people start nonprofits and simple things of going to the doctor? You have a strategy, but then you don't have a strategy for that.
That's right. You got to think about, and this is the work I love so much. I love strategy work. You just think about, where do I want to be in 3 years' time? How am I going to get there? How will I know I've succeeded? What will that feel like and be like? And then you work backwards.
So another question.
Yes.
Financial plan, strong board, and a strategy. So also related to your board, should executive directors be on their board?
So most often it's the president CEO position. It's a different title, same function. But yes, they can be on the board, but they don't have a vote. So they're an ex
So they
officio
can,
member,
but they shouldn't have a vote.
But they don't have a vote.
But they should. So they can be on the board, but they should not have a vote.
That's right. They can be part of the board of directors.
This is one of the biggest things we talk about with our nonprofits. A lot of times what we see with small nonprofits is the executive director of the president CEO is on the board and has a vote.
Yeah.
We also see that they have family members on the board.
No.
So really, take Wendy's big three. Make sure you have a financial plan, a strong board, and then make sure you have a strategy. And when you're doing those three things, make sure when you're developing your board, make sure you remove conflicts, and then make sure that your president or your executive director does not have a vote.
And let me say, they're a key person. That executive director, they are the person who is running the show all day, all night, every day. They're critical. But they need to have a balance of if, they don't have the power of a for-profit CEO. That's just not, we're holding public trust dollars. These aren't our dollars. These are dollars that are given to us to be good stewards of, to do what's right and to give the money out into the world.
Stewards. You have to be a good steward of other people's money.
We have to be good, trustworthy people. These are not our dollars. I'll tell you a tiny other thing. When people are fundraising and you're asking other people for money, I come across so many like crowdfunding and GoFundMe. The first person who should be donating is the board.
Wow.
If I don't give my own money, I'm not saying $100, $5, $10, whatever it is.
If your board doesn't want to invest in your organization, why should somebody else?
Amen. Why should somebody else?
There you go. So that's when you're talking about revenue in your budget, the first place you should look and how you're really going to tell the infrastructure and the capacity of your organization is, does your board want to fund your organization?
And grant makers will say, so there's something we call board giving policy. 100% of board members should be giving. They don't have to give a lot of money. They just all have to give. Everybody has to give. Could be $5, could be $10. They could give nothing out of their pocket and get grandma and auntie to give. That's fine.
But they should give.
Everybody's got to give.
All right. So speaking of fundraising, I mentioned Prince George's County has the largest concentration of small nonprofits in Maryland. How can somebody? What do you think? I know this could be a whole podcast in itself, but what would you say is something that we could tell our American Jobs Center Community Network members on to help them move forward with growing and increasing their revenue?
So I just had this great conversation with somebody yesterday who does fabulous work, and they have very little money. They have like $30,000 annual budget and annual revenue. People think crowdfunding, right? Like getting online and doing GoFundMe is the answer to everything. And it can be, but what is critical is your network. So you have to be able to I see it sort of like a spider web. In the middle is you. Mm-hmm. But the tentacles or the web reaches far out. So you've got to look at, in the middle is you, and here's who you are connected to. And then you've got a board, here's who they're connected to, and then who's your board's connected to. So whatever you do has to have a wide berth of connection. It takes a lot of people.
That's great. That's a very point, because when we talk about in our American Job Centers, especially with our youth program, we always tell people your network is your net worth.
That's true.
And so we use that when people are trying to identify a job, but it sounds like it's the same case and you're building an organization, the organizations and entities and partners you partner with, the board members that you bring on your board, that's your network. And your ability to raise money to increase the net worth of your organization is going to be depending on how many people in your network can donate money, or like you said, grandma, business, friend, can donate. They can find other entities to donate to your organization. Yeah. So your network is your net worth is the same for the job seeker as it is for the nonprofit executive.
Agreed.
Great. So this is a lot of great information, Wendy. I also want to highlight our American Job Center Community Network. We have about 75 partners. I want to, again, encourage all of our workforce providers, whether you're a nonprofit, a community-based organization, a church, if you're a government agency listening, if you're not even located in Prince George's County, you're in D.C., you're in Northern Virginia, but you serve Prince George's County, really contact us at www.employpg.org or 301-618-8400 because we want you to join our network. We want you to increase our net worth of our members, but also increase your net worth. And I really believe at 75 we can help some people grow, but imagine if we can get to 250. And the great thing that I love about this is the more that we grow, the more residents, the more businesses, and the more distressed communities that we can help in our area in Prince George's County. So I just had to put that plug in there. That's why it's the Employ Prince George's Workforce Wire podcast, so I can plug different things. But on top of that, Wendy, all the information that you gave, the Maryland Association of Nonprofits, you just had a successful conference a couple of days ago. Our listeners might have missed it. But for those that missed the conference this year, why should they attend next year outside of just hearing half of the great information you gave us?
Okay. Well, first of all, it talked about network is your net worth. About 300 organizations come to that, and it's ours plus an organization called MARFI that we're the parent of, and which is Maryland Association for Foster Youth Resources. So there's 300 people who attend the conference. It was amazing. There were the networks you make, the funders show up, people are there, you connect to all kinds of people. So I would say the most important reason is the networking. The second is the phenomenal learning opportunities. So it's a great couple days.
I just said your network is your net worth. This is a great way to increase that network. And then you can get some professional development to teach you how to leverage that network, right?
That's right.
And so where can they get information about next year's conference?
On our website at marylandnonprofits.org.
www.marylandnonprofits.org. Wendy, thank you for coming on the Workforce Wire show today. Thank you for being a great partner of Employ Prince George's. Thank you for helping us grow. And also thank you for your work to increase the industry and grow organizations that are giving back to our communities. I really want to say thank you for doing that. And thank you for joining us on the Workforce Wire.
Thank you for having me.
Anything you want to leave our listeners with?
I just wish everybody the absolute best. Go towards the joy. Call us. We can help you.
There you go. This is the Workforce Wire brought to you by Employ Prince George's, bridging the gap between job seekers and businesses. Thank you for listening, and I want to wish you the best as you move on throughout your day. Have a good one.